Welcome to One Life on Earth. My name is Kevin, and today we're going to talk about the Blue Hole in Hawaii. This video is going to be a little bit different than my typical videos. Usually I'll tell you guys how to actually do a hike, but in this case, I'm just going to tell you my story about what happened to us on this hike and what it was like. And I'm not specifically going to tell anyone exactly how to actually do it for one very important reason. And let me explain kind of why I feel like I shouldn't explain exactly how to do it. There's very little information about the Blue Hole, and there's even less on how to actually do the hike. In fact, when me and Tyler did the hike, there was zero information whatsoever. Where to start, how long does it take, is there a trail, how hard is it, where do you even go? There was no map or anything like that. And because there's no way to actually know how to do it, that turned it into much more of an actual adventure. Basically, all you have is a start point and an end point. You know where you want to go. It's in the middle, dead center of the island, inside of this mountain. And the only thing that lies between the starting point and the finishing point is 8 miles of crazy rainforest jungle. And it's completely up to you and your responsibility to figure out how you're going to get from point A to point B. And I think that true ultimate sense of adventure is what makes this hike so insanely awesome. So let's get into our story about our journey to the center of the Blue Hole. As you look at Kauai on the map, you can see that the Blue Hole is essentially made up of the mountain in the exact center of the island. So this is the Blue Hole. This is what you're aiming for. It's hard to tell on a map, but what this is essentially like 3,000 foot cliffs on all sides, and there's a valley that cuts into it. The reason that it's called the Blue Hole is because when you're inside of these 3,000 foot green cliffs, you look up and the only thing you can see is the blue hole of the sky surrounded by the green cliffs. So this is your destination, and the one thing I am going to tell you is our starting point and where you can start this hike. If you zoom in here, you'll find a little parking lot next to the Kihua Arboretum. This is where we parked our car, got our backpacks and gear ready, laced up our boots, and started our hike. According to my estimations, it was at least 8 miles one way, so 16 miles round trip. If you count the times that we had to backtrack or go some crazy zigzag routes, probably, at least 16 miles all around. We started right after sunrise, around 8 or 9 a.m., and because the hike is so hard and because we got lost so much, especially at the beginning, we didn't get done until well after nightfall, around 10 at night, 10 p.m. So this hike takes all day and it's super tiring and extremely difficult. The first part of the hike was some gravel roads with some big streams going through, so right away you get soaking wet. We opted to take our boots off so that we didn't destroy our boots right away, but later on in the hike your boots will get 100% soaking wet, so it's just up to you if you want to get them wet right off the bat. Me and Tyler were walking through those rivers. Eventually, once you get off the gravel roads, kind of towards the beginning of the jungle, we found a bunch of like mud that you could almost call quicksand. Your boot would go down like 1.5 feet into this super wet mud and you almost couldn't pull it out. If your boots weren't laced on tight, they would get sucked off. It was crazy. A lot of this hike was so extreme wet or just dangerous, so a lot of these crazy things I couldn't even film. So look out for that quicksand. And then all of a sudden you get to the Jurassic Park Gate. Now this is the actual gate where they filmed the Jurassic Park movie. The original gate is mostly gone, but it still has these 2 giant cement pillars of where the gate actually was. And so that was really cool to see. And it's really fitting because at this gate, you are going into the unknown. You're basically going into Jurassic Park just without the dinosaurs. And at this gate entrance, that's where the forest really opens up. You can see the giant green cliffs off in the distance with the weeping walls full of waterfalls. Not too far after that Jurassic Park gate, you find the main river, and this river is apparently called the North Fork Wailua River. So if you ever get lost, Just follow the river downstream, and this will bring you back to civilization and safety. I always have a compass with me because there's a compass on my watch, and my watch is solar powered, so I always have a compass with me. It's probably something that I would recommend to anyone who's doing any kind of crazy adventures. You're gonna want to have a compass, but if you don't, all you need to know is that if you follow this river out, you'll get back to safety eventually. Now, at some points though, once you get closer to the Blue Hole, the river forks off a couple times, and that's where we got super lost and we had to backtrack a lot. Up here somewhere where it forks, I'm not sure exactly where that was, but we started climbing up these huge, really steep cliffs, and then the river went down into a gorge, and everything is soaking wet in there, and we had to walk across a ledge like 2 inches wide with this one tiny little tree to hold on to, and so that was really unsafe. Also, you're going to want to watch out for flash floods. Always have a game plan of where to go to higher ground just in case like a big storm comes and the whole Blue Hole turns into like more of a raging river type of thing. That didn't happen to us, but I'm not sure exactly how big the river would become if there was a flash flood. So always have a game plan of how to access some higher ground if you need to. So at this point, we were just walking straight through the river. There's no more trails, there's no nothing. We were walking straight through the river, and this is a big river. We're climbing across boulders, we're going up waist high in water, jumping from one rock to the next. There's jungles here and there with like weird little waterfall things. There's Tyler standing in the jungle next to a little pond thing. This is kind of what the beginning of the hike into the Blue Hole area starts to look like. This is what it's like once you start getting into the river. It's just boulders and water and jungle everywhere. There's zero trails. Kind of where the river forks, there is this giant little waterfall with a pond. It's so deep you can go swimming in it. So that's really cool. We made a little pit stop there. Eventually, as we get closer inside of the Blue Hole, there's dozens of these incredibly beautiful, amazing waterfalls. Here's Tyler. We're up on a giant cliff thing at this point with the waterfall. He's looking at one of those waterfalls. Once we got into the Blue Hole, it was almost basically sunset. So we had to do the entire thing back at night, which was so hard because we're walking through this raging river. And like I said, in some places it's too deep to even get into. It's like 6 feet deep, and like there's waterfalls and stuff. So we're like bouldering across these rivers for like 3 or 4 miles in the middle of the night. Thankfully, we had our headlamps with us, which we usually bring when we're hiking. But without a light, we literally would not have been able to get back. It would have been way too dangerous and just impossible to see our footing. So if we didn't have lights and we were stuck out there at night, we would literally have to go sit in the jungle and try and sleep and just sit there until dawn. So that was pretty crazy. Other than that, me and Tyler did film an entire video of this hike, and it was amazing. One of the coolest things I've ever done, for sure. It's so cool that I really want to go back again and film it again because it is awesome. The hike into the Blue Hole is a true adventure, and I will see all you guys in the next video. See you later.